Fantastic morning everyone. Today we are going to see a different poem which was written by Stephen Spender, and the name of the poem is An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. Before going into the poem, let me say a few words about the poet. So our poet's life period is from 1909 to 1995. Actually, he is a British poet, novelist, essayist. He is so familiar in writing or concentrating on the social injustice that happened to most of the people. He received United States Poet Laureate Award, and he is good in writing poems. And now let us see about the poem. What the poem says about. An important major points about the poem. So this poem exposes the glaring gaps and marginalization occurs so often in our societies. So it exposes the glaring gaps and marginalization occurs so often in our societies. Yeah, in our society it happens between most of the people by seeing their religion, caste, and because of the money, each and everything, there will be a glaring gaps between the people. So he concentrates on these things regarding the society, and he will bring that in his poem. Even this poem says about the same thing. And he compares the condition of privileged children and the underprivileged children of slum. Just before I told you, actually his poem says about the glaring gaps, right? Same way we can see in the next point itself, that is the privileged children and the underprivileged children of slum. Their difference, right? This poem consists of 4 stanzas, and this poem was written in free verse, hence it doesn't have rhyme scheme. Now let me read the first stanza of the poem. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor, the tall girl with her weighted down head, the paper seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted unlucky hair of twisted bones, reciting a father's garnered disease, his lesson from his desk at back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes lives in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. Let me read the first stanza again. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces, like rootless weeds, the hair torn around their pallor, the tall girl with her weighted down head, the paper seeming boy with rat eyes, the stunted unlucky hair of twisted bones, reciting a father's granuled disease, his lesson from his desk at back of the dim class, one unnoted sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. Now let me explain the poem, right? Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces like rootless weeds. So far, far from gusty waves, in the themes, each and every place is far, far from, many students are here and their faces are so dull, right? Like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor. So their hair is not so, right, combed well, and like rootless weeds in the sense, the plants that grow without any of their support. It will grow on their own, and most of the plants will be useless plants, right? So rootless weeds. The hair torn round their pallor. Pallor means face. So it is it is untidy. Their hair is untidy. It falls in front of their face. The tall girl with her weighted down head. So tall girl is there, but her head is bent down. That is weighted down head. The paper seeming. Right? Paper seeming boy. That is paper seeming boy. A boy is seeing the paper. With rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky hair of twisted bones. It means a boy is there, but he is not so healthy. Seems to be like he has some problem, right? And it is said that reciting a father's gargled disease. It means it is the inherited disease, right? From his father. Same disease from his father. It attacked him, right? His lesson from his desk at back of the dim class. The boy is there at the desk at back of the dim class. One unnoted sweet and young, because a boy is there. He was sitting at the last dark place. No one is noting him because as he is sitting in the dark. His eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room. Other than this, so he is not concentrating on the class. This is said by each line. Now let me clear out the explanation about this stanza. See, the poet describes children, those who are studying in the elementary school, set up in the slum area. So our poet describes about the slum area and the elementary school which was there, right? Faces of the children are dull and without any energy. See, most of the children faces are dull and without any energy. Not so healthy like the other of their age. While the poet compares the same children with the other children, their health is too weak. Children compared to unwanted weeds. Right? So unwanted weeds means unwanted plants grow on their own. So no use of it. So which means they are unwanted like the unwanted weeds. So these children are unwanted for any of the people. Right? As they are not so healthy, at the same time their poverty level, and as they are living in the slum area, people are avoiding them. All these things were put in with the help of these points, right? Their hair is not so neat. It is torn and falls on their pale face, right? Their pale face. It falls on their pale. So it means it is not so, right? It is not so combed well, right? They are untidy and they haven't combed their hair. And again, now our poet starts going to describe each and every one. He describes a tall girl who seems to be burdened by poverty. Right? Burdened by poverty means no money. Because of her poverty, she is so weak. Her head is bent. Right? Our poet says that why her head is bent in the class. Maybe because of tiredness, or maybe it can be because of shame, right? Because of her poverty level. There is another boy who is so weak and thin, and he is seeing the paper. So by seeing the boy and the paper, our poet compares that he has been compared to the sheet of paper. So he is so thin and so weak. As he is so thin and weak, our poet compares the boy with the paper, right? And then he describes another student who is physically disabled. So what we are seeing in the poem, right? The father's disease. So then that boy is unlucky because, our poet says that the boy is unlucky because of the inherited disease from his father sticked him. and that boy is reciting his lesson. So what is reciting? He is reciting, he is recalling, studying, right, reading, reciting his lesson. At the back of the class, in the dim, dark area, so at the back of the class, dim, dark area was a small boy, right? So there's a boy sitting at the back of the class, dim and dark area. The poet can't see that boy clearly because as he is sitting in the dark, but his eyes, he can note that his eyes has a dream, and poet says that he was not paying attention to the class. Instead, he is rather interested in playing with the squirrels, right? He is seeing the squirrels, not interested in seeing the class, right? Because interested in playing with the squirrels in the tree house. Here, our first stanza, our poet describes about the slum area, about the school, at the same time the children, those who are studying there, right? And here our literary devices are, which means here our poet used simile with the help of children's compared with rootless weed, and he also uses metaphor in one of the line, that is boy is compared with paper, right? So now let us move to the second walls. Donations. Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn. Civilized dome riding all cities. Belled, flowery, Tyrolese valley. Open-handed map awarding the world its world, and yet for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, where all their futures painted with a fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, caves, and stars of woods. So this stanza exactly says about the wall that is in the classroom, that is in the slum classroom. The wall is covered with a lot of pictures, right? And the poet also says about the student's future, right? Now let us see the explanation of the second stanza. The poet describes the walls of the school, and how he describes the wall is in sour cream color, the color of the sour cream, which means the wall is not painted recently, it is not clean, right? And walls covered with different charts and images, right? The wall is covered with different charts and images, and it was donated by different people, right? As it is a slum area, as the people is of poverty, they don't have money, right? So they won't get these much of charts and pictures. So the poet said that it was donated by some different people, and the poet can see a picture of Shakespeare on the wall, right? Shakespeare, so we know that Shakespeare's head is a little bit bald, right? Bald headed. So how our poet compares that Shakespeare's bald head seems to be like a rising sun behind all the cities, right? How the sun rises, right? So Shakespeare's bald head is compared with rising sun behind all the cities, right? And he can also see a picture of famous Tyrolese valley, right? Why Tyrolese valley is so famous for? The Tyrolese valley is so famous for beautiful flowers. Each and every flower will attract our heart, right? And those flowers will give us a pleasant nature if we are there. So he can able to see that picture, and he compares that with the children as the picture is so beautiful, but how the classroom is, right? Because of the poverty, right? And there is a image of a map, right? He can also see an image of a map, right? That map, what is the use of map? It will help us to go to some of the places, right? So he can see a map, and the map, in that map, the same slum area is decorated in a different way, right? It is a picture of a map, so different buildings, different way, right? But the children know that the slum that is shown on the map is different from where they live, right? Because in the picture it seems to be like a big building, nice shops. The map is covered with different buildings and other things, but where they live is of nothing, right? But for these, right, the children, where they live is their own world, right? No other different world can be seen by them because of their poverty level. Their world is what they see out of the classroom window, right? So their world, right? Even by how he compares by seeing the whole map. So the children can see the map and they can imagine something, but they won't go from this slum to different places as they don't have money, right? And as they don't have proper education, right? No one will consider them, right? In the first stanza itself we have seen that clearly, right? No one wants this unwanted weeds, right? So unwanted children, so no one is giving any education to them. So their world is only the street, right? Their outside, what they see in the classroom window, right? Outside of the classroom window, their slum area. And their future is compared to a narrow street, which means no scope for their future growth, right? Why? Because of education is too poor, and their parents and their relatives, other people are not so educated. Even these children are not getting proper education from the society, right? Their future is full of darkness because these children are far away from the radiant light of knowledge and education. So this is how our poet completes the second stanza. So he said about the how the structure of that classroom is. So he can see wall, and the wall is not so clean, but it is filled with a lot of charts and pictures, and it was donated by some of the different people, and he can able to see a picture of a Shakespeare whose head is bald, and it is compared with the rising sun behind all the cities. He can also see a valley which is covered with a lot of beautiful flowers, but here this area is not so beautiful and it is untidy, unclean, right? And he can also see the picture of a nice map, right? But if we compare the map's slum picture with the reality, both are too different, right? Because, and children, they are not moving to different places as they are so poor and as they are not so educated. So what our poet concludes with this, that the students, that is the children, their life is on a narrow way which they don't have a bright future. It is full of darkness as they don't have the radiant light of knowledge and education. Right? Now I conclude this second stanza with the help of some figure of speech what we had seen in this second stanza. Metaphor is the major figure of speech that we have seen in this second stanza with the help of sour cream walls, because the walls are compared as sour cream, which is a metaphor, and the other metaphor is narrow street sealed with a lead sky. So narrow street, what we have without, they don't have bright future. That is, the future of the kids is described as limited as they don't have money. So these are the two figure of speeches we had seen, right? That is two metaphors that we had seen in the second stanza. Let us now jump on to the third stanza. Surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example. With ships and sun and love tempting them to steal. For lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes, from fog to endless night, on their slag heap these children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel, with mended glass like bottle bits on stones. All of their time and space are foggy slum, so blot their maps with slums as big as doom. So, what our poet tries to explain in the third stanza is these children have faced so many hardships in their lives. They are facing lot of problem in their lives, so that they feel every person as their enemy. As they are living in slum, no one is caring them, no one loves them, no one helps them, no one is asking anything to them. So all these things makes the children, right, to face the world as hardship, right? They have to, while they move for to get something, they have to face some problems related to money, right? So they feel every person as their enemy. And even for them, Shakespeare is an evil man. I told, right, they are facing, right, hardships, they are facing hardship, right? They consider each person as their enemy. So for them, even Shakespeare is an evil man, right? And the last stanza we had seen, that is in the second stanza we had seen, right, there is a picture that was pasted on the wall, that is Shakespeare's picture. So for these children, this Shakespeare is an evil man, and they dislike map and consider it as bad. They dislike map and they consider it as bad because, right, what they see in the map is different from the place where they live. So they are so angry on those things and they don't believe that. So they think that map is bad. They were never loved by anyone, as I told. They were never loved by anyone, right? Because of their appearance, because of their untidiness. All these things happen because of their poverty. As their parents are not so educated, these children they are also like this. And so they hate almost everyone. Their home is too small and they have adjusted to live according to that, right? As they are living in slum and as they don't have money, their home is too small and they started adjusting they started adjusting, right, for their living, to adjust in their small home. Their life is going towards an endless night. What it means, endless night? Endless night means night. How night will be? Night is full of darkness, right? So endless night means night won't get over. So their life is compared to endless night because as they are living in darkness, they are living in darkness, they have to come up, but they can't because of their poverty level, because of their uneducation, right? Which means their future is full of darkness as they don't have proper education, knowledge. These kids are so thin that one can see their bones, right, on their skins. So we can count their bones as they are so thin and they don't have proper nutrition, food and each and everything. So their bones are visible to our eyes easily, right? We can count their bones. And our poet also says that these children suffer from malnutrition, and because of this malnutrition, most of the children, they wear specs as they can't see well, and those specs are made of steel, and even in that specs, those spectacles were repaired already. It is already repaired, and with the help of small sticks to handle the specs. right? Instead of this their frame, they are using some sticks to handle these specs, as they don't have money to buy a new one, right? And even those specs they are using, they are cheap and very uncomfortable. These kids have to face so many hardship in their lives like this. So like this they have to face lot of hardship. This is what our poet tries to say in the third stanza. These slums are getting bigger, right? Nowadays these slums are getting bigger, and they will destroy the future of these children. This is the thing what our poet, what is it, he is feeling bad to say, right? Because government have to take necessary steps to bring them up. But if they are left like this, what about their future? What about if children, if their future is bad, then how the country will get developed, right? How the other society will get developed, right? All these things is there in poet's mind, and to express those he had written this in the third stanza. And the metaphor that is there in this third stanza is, their homes are very small like holes, that is trapped holes, right? And he also, our poet also used a simile, and that is their repaired spectacles like bottle bits on stone, right? Now let's move to the climax part, and that is fourth stanza, right? The fourth stanza, let me read the fourth stanza now. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. Break, oh break, open till they break the town, and show the children to green fields and make their world. Run azure on gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into books the white and green leaves open. History there whose language is the sun, right? So the climax part, poet tries to put everything on the government. The government have to see, the government have to use their eyes to, and their appearance, their eyes have to fall on these children, and to make their life better, to get like make their future bright, right? Poet says government should take notice of all the problems that these children face in their everyday life. He urges that change the life of these children and make the world map, right? What the map that is pasted on the wall, right? So see that world map, make the same thing what is there in the world map in their life, right? Change the place, right? Make the place beautiful, right? Make the place neat and clean. Spend money for that, and bring the children up in their lives. Break the restrictions due to poverty and lack of resources, right? If they don't have money, right, give them lot of education and bring the children up so that their poverty level will be reduced. Give money to their parents to make them beautiful, right? And poet wants the governor and public to help these children in achieving their dreams. What I mean by money, this is the thing, right? Students, they don't have money to spend even for their studies, the children. They can't go to the high school, that is the school that is getting more fees. So, government have to show their eyes, that is show their power to develop these children's education. So they have to spend money, right? He wants the children to experience the sense and beauty of nature, so that children can be taken away from their darkness, right? So what our poet says is, if our children move from this area to the outer space, then they can experience sense and beauty of nature, and they will understand what we had seen in our slum is not exactly the proper world. We have to move further, right? The world is so big. We have to learn more, right? And here our poet is also saying that so that they will go through the white and green leaves, right? So what do you mean by white and green leaves? Green leaves we may know. What do you mean by white leaves? So here white leaves denotes books and green leaves denotes nature, right? So if we are concentrating on the books, if their education level is good, so that their life will become better, and while they grow up, our society will become the best. So this is what our poet tries to say. This will result in their progress, and they will be able to paint their future bright. They will make their future bright. So this is how our poet concludes the poem, right? How he concludes by saying if government takes proper or necessary steps to develop these children, right, in their education, then definitely their future will become bright. So for that they have to concentrate in their education studies, as well as they have to develop this elementary school. If they develop this school, automatically students' life will change. They will learn lot of things. They will move out and their life will become successful, right? Now the metaphor used in this poem is books and nature expressed as white and green leaves. The white green leaves open. So now we can conclude this poem, and we can move to the next poem in the next class. See you. Bye bye. Thank you.